you to the University of Saldiha College and to the organizer Binay Barman and also his relatives that I know, Dr. and Professor Ranjan Shekia. Today I would like to present the diversity of Indian culture in the touristic heritage of India and Sikkim with some points. I have a PowerPoint, but I will try to use it. Yes. Can you see the PowerPoint? Yes.
No.
You can see the PowerPoint?
No.
No, sir. Not yet visible on screen.
It's not on the screen. Yes.
No, nothing.
No, sir.
Okay. So,
So you just have to share the screen.
yes. Okay.
You have to share.
Okay. So I won't show any PowerPoint because I can't do it. I'm not successful. So my reflection is that about tourism, heritage, culture, and history in India. Tourism is an experience rich in emotion. Travel is a way to discover the cultures of the other and to feel this in this feeling of otherness in the face of a foreign context. I tell you about my tourist journey. It was wonderful India. It was original geographical scientific itineraries and heritages. Mapping the world and discover the heritage led us to learn world culture and societies outside our home environment. How does the diverse Indian heritage and culture of this region of Southeast Asia vary in Indian territory? Different religious heritage, Buddhist, Muslim, Buddhist like in Sikkim, cultures on the different sacred sites with different ethnic groups and territory. The seat of many old shrines are venerated by the people of all faithscape, like in Sikkim or in Varanasi. Faithscape is an expression from the professor Rana P.B. Singh, and it's a really interesting study also about the heritage, the Hindu heritage in Varanasi. So tourism meets Indian culture and its heritage landscapes, learning another culture in diversity. And this diversity makes the heritage also. Firstly, I would like to show that the diversity of landscape and Indian touristic heritages contrasted between North and South India with a majority of Hindu seat of all traditions in the southern India mainly, but in the north of India we find also Muslim seat, of course, like the Taj Mahal or Fatehpur Sikri. And I focus in my research particularly on the study of population practices. I address some methodological problems on the field grounds in terms of statistics and apprehension of touristic categories. So in this point, we need here to approach the question of the different categories or concepts used to refer to the plurality of mobility tourists and the actors as primary source, as well as their practices around the cultural heritage by interviewing the tourist narratives in front of the rebuilt sacred and spiritual heritage, like in Sikkim, where there is a traditional rebuilt heritage. So my reflection about influence of Indian culture in India and in Sikkim is to understand better the link between tourism, territory, and patrimony. What are the spatial and territorial dynamics of tourism in Sikkim, and then the relation between the conservation of heritage and experience sacred heritage sit with Indian tourists. Also, because you are Indian researchers and I am a Western researcher, a French researcher, what discourse can the Western researchers shared with Indian researchers during this meeting on these heritage objects of the Indian national heritage. The meeting between the tourist and the local heritage, its representation is very important. In Sikkim, how Sikkimese view their history and how they record the memory of their heritage. So first of all, I think that in India, there is a multiplicity of tourist visitors, mainly domestic tourism, and a diversity of heritage from north to south. In the south of India, I would like to show on my PowerPoint, but I can't connect it, sorry. I have had a lot of slides to show. Looking at the beach landscape in Kerala, participating in the construction of the beach imagination near Kovalam, I saw a lot of Christian also heritage with some shrines, the Hindu temple of Ashimala and other temples, the famous temple in the south of India of Padmanabha's family, very rich in gold, and this temple dates from the 16th century and belonged to the royal family of Travancore. The heritage of India, Bharatiya Virasat, is produced by the way we look at it as a social product. We can identify with the monuments that we see. The question of identity is very present within the notion of local heritage. There is also the heritage of Varanasi, I said before, the faithscape and cultural landscape analyzed by Professor Rana P.V. Singh, the sacred river and the holy city. It is also a very important heritage in India. We found also the landscape, the Buddhist landscape and the Buddhist heritage of India in the classical India. I went also to Sanchi and I found this place very interesting. Indian diaspora revisited also its sacred heritage, even in Kerala, in Padmanabha's family, or in Sanchi. The mandala main religious landscape elements are monastery, chatan, sacred places, caves, and mountains, which is conformed to a Buddhist Tibetanization in Sikkim, a small state of India, with 7,000 square kilometers and 665,000 population. So the influence of the culture and the heritage of India is diverse. There is Indian and sometimes non-Indian also influence of the culture. For example, the Tibetan influence in the Sikkimese monasteries of Sikkim. But there is also the monuments of the Mughal heritage, like the Taj Mahal, with Persian and Iran influence. But this is also the Indian heritage, of course. Of course, the gardens are beautiful and bright. These heritage is emotionally important, like the Taj Mahal. The Indian tourist said, "Our Amara Taj Mahal." Voilà. The current location of the Taj Mahal is not ideal and it is a fragile architecture. So how to protect the cultural heritage of India? This is an issue of conservation, but I would like to show that between tourism and heritage, there is the very importance of the influence of Indian tourism. Indian tourism, especially in Sikkim, where we found more than 600,000 tourists in Sikkim, multiplied by 3 between 2014 and 2017, because it is a bio-organic state, which we have a lot of touristic attraction, natural and cultural heritage. So to study the phenomenon of heritage is also to collaborate with the problematic of touristic development. Yes. We noted some difficulties associated with our approach as a researcher, constraints by social rules, such as access to interview and interviewers in India, despite the head of the family served as the first interlocutor by gender, an important person, resource person for research on tourism and heritage. In this context, other religious groups will be studied on a differential analysis for researchers working on the social religious affinities of heritage and tourism. There is also the famous linguistic heritage of India, with more than 1,000 languages speak in India, the varied languages in India, like also the Nepali language in Sikkim, speaking by 70% of the total population, the Tibetan language speaking also in India, in Delhi, or in the Himalayan states of India. This is also the linguistic heritage. And we note an erosion of this Himalayan heritage compared to the Hindi language, which is more important in proportion and in percentage. Yes, there are 22 official languages in India and listed according to the national constitution. So it forms a diversity of languages and heritage for different ethnic groups. So in Sikkim, my case of study, we found that there is a contrast between the former Buddhist heritage, a traditional Buddhist heritage, and the recent rebuilt Hindu or Buddhist heritage with the statue of Solo folk. In Solo folk in Sikkim, we note the flourishing development of Hinduism in the pattern of mandala. It can be understood as a conquest of the territory, revealed by the presence of the temples at the four corners of the complex, and the statue of Shiva, erected at the very center, rise higher than the surrounding temples and reached after climbing massive stairs. On the Buddhist path, there is also the statue of Guru Rinpoche in Sandrupse in southern Sikkim. And more recently, in Western Sikkim, there's also the statue of Buddha in Buddha Park, remembering the presence of Buddha in the ancient soil of India, like in Sanchi during the classical period of the history of India, between the 2nd and 3rd century after Jesus Christ. And in Sikkim, the first monasteries were built during the 16th and 17th century. There is also a completely changing landscape in the traditional landscape of Sikkim, like with the Peling Sky Walk, a kind of road from the sky that takes the tourist viewer up to heavenly skies, and the large statue of Chenrezig, with a suspended bridge over the void and transparent. But these modern heritage, this big statue, mega statue, change the color of the traditional rural landscape. Near the statue of Chenrezig, there is the small monastery of Sangachoeling, an older monastery in Sikkim. And so we can note the liberalization also of the state of Sikkim, the development of Sikkim, and the changing culture between material culture, which is coming now for the local tribes. The best way to preserve their heritage is also to preserve their intangible heritage, like the oral traditions. So the question of heritageization and tourism in Sikkim is an important issue of conservation. The local population are actors of the conservation of their heritage, like the Sikkimese Bhotia, and the protection of their Buddhist monasteries. The Bhotiyas are the protector of this sacred landscape with their beliefs that are centered around the mountain god, Ganshen Zonga. They are the guardians of the boundaries of the sacred landscape. They maintain their religious ritual, And to conserve the intangible patrimony, the strategy for Sikkim is to find solutions against maybe other cultures, maybe they try to defend their own culture. So tourism and heritage is integrated also into national and local plans, according to Indian scientists. I remember the very interesting reflection of Professor Ramakrishnan from Jawaharlal Nehru University. The global dynamic of the sacred landscape help to conserve the biodiversity, and its roots are managed by different ethnic groups. Yes, the heritage of India is great, large and diverse, and today we need to have a balance between the cultural heritage and the needs of development, properly managed by a sustainable policy and development for environmental conservation. This is the thing of Professor Karobaki Datta about the heritage, a colleague from Bengal University, about this immaterial and intangible heritage with the local tribes in Sikkim. I found that the heritage memories is changing, and they are dematerialize the heritage to better preserve it with oral traditions, focalize on rituals. In the way of gradual awakening in Sikkim, as in Adamantine Mahayana Vajrayana Buddhism, subtle ways to win the path of freedom and awakening and openness to tourism and liberalism overturns the local balances and societies. Tourism in Sikkim is the sample of different practices, different geographical origin, and different heritage because it's bioethnic diversity. The importance of intangible culture of memories like the songs, folklores, oral traditions in the religious stories mark the age of modern development, which deconstruct local societies and their anchoring to the earth, or it helps also to better conserve their identity. So I think that diversity in India is also a way to conserve the heritage. Yes. Thank you very much. Hello? Yes, thank you.
No. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Binet.
Okay, sir. Now, I request to Sanjay Prasad, sir. Sanjay Prasad is Associate Professor of History, Saldiha Netaji Centenary College. He has edited 2 books and has published many articles from various articles, reputed journals. And now, please, sir, you will start your lecture.
Good afternoon, everybody. Am I audible, Binoy?
Yes.
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 Yeah. At the outset, I must thank Professor Binoy Burman, Assistant Professor in History, Saldiha College, Principal of this college, other professors of this college, and other organizing members of this international conference. I must thank Professor. It's really a matter of great pleasure and pride for me to share this platform of international webinar where some important personalities belonging to different parts of the world, such as Shehnaz Husne Jahan, Professor Shehnaz Husne Jahan, and Professor Oliver Siron from France just presented their papers, and we got enlightened very much. As far as the topic of this international conference is related, which reads Indian influence on South Asian culture and heritage, I was very much perplexed about the selection of the article, because so many good options are available before us, and at the last I decided to present my paper on the religious minorities in Pakistan. So my paper reads Reappraising the Religious Minorities in Pakistan, an Empirical Study. Before I say something about the minorities in Pakistan, one must take into mind the number of people which used to live in India at the time of partition on 14th and 15th of August 1947. And if we make a comparison of the population in 1947 along with 2020, you will find a hell difference between them. In the year 1947, when India got divided into India and Pakistan, the number of Muslims who lived here constituted about 1/4 of the total Indian population. The very first census in India, in independent India, took place in the year 1951. In that year, 84.1% people belonged to the Hindu community, while 9.8% people belonged to the Muslim community. Again, in the year 2011, if I present the percentage of the Hindu and Muslim community, you will find that 79.8% Hindus constituted the population, while Muslims constituted 14.2%. And if you deduct the population of Hindus and Muslims respectively from 2011 to 1951, you will find that the population of Hindus has decreased by 4.3%, while the population of Muslims has gone up by 4.4%. This is the figure which I am talking about India. And as far as this Pakistani nation is concerned, as per the report of Pakistani Bureau of Statistics, in the year 2020, its population stands at 220 million. More than 96% of the population in Pakistan belongs to the Muslim community. Remaining 4% belongs to Hindus, Christians, Sikhs, Ahmadis, and others. I just want to say that the number of people, especially the Muslims living in India, their population has increased from 1947 to 2020. On the contrary, or whereas the number of minorities living in Pakistan has gone down from 1947 to 2020. What were the reasons, or what are the reasons because of which the number of minorities in Pakistan has decreased so much? If we consider the views of Pakistan's founder, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who is also referred to as the Qaid-e-Azam, you will be amazed to know that he never dreamed of decreasing the population of minorities in Pakistan. He used to say that non-Muslims would be equal citizens in the new country. I am quoting him on 11th of August 1947. Jinnah stated that in order to make Pakistan happy and prosperous, every person living in the country, no matter what is his color, caste or creed, should be first, second, and last a citizen of this state with equal rights, privileges, and obligations. He also said, I cannot emphasize it too much. We should begin to work in that spirit, and in course of time, all these angularities of majority and minority communities, the Hindu community and the Muslim community, will vanish. He also said on that day that you are free, referring to the minorities. I mean that he referred the minorities by saying these words or by saying these lines. You are free. You are free to go to your temples. You are free to go to your mosques or to any other place of worship in this state of Pakistan. You may belong to any religion or caste or creed. That has nothing to do with the business of the state. We are starting in the days where there is no discrimination, no distinction between one community and another, no distinction between one caste or creed and another. We are starting with this fundamental principle that we are all citizens and equal citizens of one state. I am repeating this line. We are all citizens and equal citizens of one state. Now I think we should keep in front of us as our ideal, and you will find that in course of time, Hindus would cease to be Hindus and Muslims would cease to be Muslims. Not in the religious sense, because that is a personal faith of each individual, but in the political sense as citizens of the state. So these were the statements given by the founder of Pakistan, that each person, either belonging to Hinduism, Christianity, Islam, Jainism, Buddhism, will have the same power, will have the same obligation, will have the same right, will have the same authority. But did the dream of this founding father of Pakistan become a reality? This is the million-dollar question. Within a very short time after the creation of Pakistan, the dreams of the founder of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, started to vanish, or in other words, started to deteriorate. I am putting here an example. Muhammad Ali Jinnah did not leave any stone unturned, or he tried his level best to make this country almost a secular state, if not completely a secular, almost a secular state like India. And in this regard, even he appointed a Hindu, some Shias, and some other persons belonging to other minority community in his cabinet. Even I can cite an example of the law minister of Pakistan cabinet, Jogendranath Tagore. By religion, he was a Hindu, and he had migrated to Pakistan, and he was given this responsibility of becoming the law minister in the cabinet of this founding father of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. But within a very short period, the dreams of this Muhammad Ali Jinnah could not become a reality, or it started to deteriorate, it started to decline, it started to vanish. Even this law minister, Jogendranath Tagore, within a very short period of 3 years, he realized that the Pakistan is not going to be a secular state, or almost like a secular state like India. He remarked, he said, he placed a statement before an Indian reporter that I have asked the other Hindus of Pakistan to wait for a few weeks more, and that I too am prepared to accompany them to India. It is only a matter of time before the last Hindu reaches India from Pakistan. He also said, every Muslim in Pakistan, I mean West Pakistan, feels that there should be no Hindus left inside Pakistan. So these were the remarks made by Jogendranath Mondal, only Hindu minister in the cabinet of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So the situation became alarming just after the creation of Pakistan on 14th of August 1947, that the minorities who had migrated to Pakistan in search of peace and tranquility, in search of prosperity, became disappointed. So what are the reasons because of which not only the Hindus, but even a section of Muslim community, Christians, Buddhists, Jainis, and a particular caste of the Islam community or Muslim community, that is Ahmadi, we came to be persecuted, came to be repressed by the government, by the state actor or the non-state actor. So many examples are there, or so many causes are there, because of which their repression started in Pakistan. At the outset, I'd like to mark a particular community associated with Islam, that is Ahmadi community. Being a scholar, being a learner, being a student of history, everybody will be interested to know what's nothing with this Ahmadi community, and why the government of Pakistan started to torture this Ahmadi community, though they themselves belong to Islam, or though they themselves were the followers of Islam. Only distinction between normal Muslim and Ahmadi Muslim is that there are some doctrinal differences among them. The followers of Ahmadi do not consider Prophet Muhammad the last one, or the founder of this Ahmadi movement, who was Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. He used to believe that he was the prophet himself. He used to claim himself a revivalist and the Messiah. And this was the reason because of which the Pakistani government started to torture this community. This torture, operation, separation of this Ahmadi community and other minority communities started in Pakistan after the establishment of dictatorial form of a government, especially in the period of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and particularly during the period of Ziaul Haq. During the tenure of these two rulers, or you can say dictators or parliamentary elect, whatever may be the term, but the fact is that these persons, I mean the minorities communities in Pakistan started to be oppressed. I am putting here an example that the very first foreign minister of Pakistan was Chaudhry Jafarullah Khan. And he himself was a member of the Ahmadi community. But a section of the Pakistani government forced the Prime Minister of this Pakistan to expel this Chaudhry Jafarullah Khan from the cabinet. You will be amazed to know that the first Nobel laureate of Pakistan belonged to this Ahmadi community, who was Abdus Salam. He received the Nobel Prize in Physics in the year 1979. But this matter was very unimportant for the people of Pakistan, as he neither belonged to Sunni community nor Shia community, rather he belonged to the Ahmadi community. So people did not show any interest or respect to this gentleman Abdus Salam. And this Abdus Salam, who was an Ahmadi, was very much influenced by an Indian mathematician, that is Ramanuja. This person stood first at the matriculation examination at the age of 14. And the very first article which earned him the fame or name belonged to the equation of Swami Ramanuja. And he has the distinction of receiving the Nobel Prize in Physics, but people of Pakistan was not interested in the Nobel Prize of this Abdus Salam, because he was not a Sunni, rather he was a Ahmadi community, or he belonged to an Ahmadi community, which did not suit with the Sunni community ideals. During the period of General Ziaul Haq, the minorities community start to be suppressed or oppressed in a very systematic manner. Because Ziaul Haq, in order to increase his popularity, in order to increase his power, in order to extend his domain in the politics of Pakistan, introduced a law that became known as a blasphemy law. And what was this blasphemy law? According to Pakistani system, Pakistani law, blasphemous acts included making derogatory remarks against Prophet Muhammad Sahib or Prophet Muhammad, or defiling the Quran, or distracting or damaging or defiling any place of worship. So any person suspected of defiling the Quran, or any person suspected of making derogatory remarks against Prophet Muhammad used to be arrested, used to be tortured, used to be suppressed by the government. Either the allegation leveled against such persons were true or not, that did not matter for the government of Pakistan. Matter was how to suppress the minorities, how to oppress the minorities at any excuse, does not matter whether the blasphemous acts were applicable to that person or not. You might have heard the name of one Asya Bibi without knowing the fact that the statements made by her were true or not. To be or is being targeted by the government of Pakistan these days. Rather, there is a dispute among the two sections of Islam, that is Sunnis and Shias. You know very well that the majority of Muslims in Pakistan belong to Sunni community. Shias, though, are significant, but not a majority. You know better than me that there is a doctrinal difference between Sunni and Shia community. But being, or as the majority of the people in Pakistan do belong to Sunni community, naturally there is a domination of them. There is a domination of the Shia community over the Sunni community over the Shia community. And as far as the other minorities in Pakistan are concerned, like Hindu, Christian, and Sikhs in Pakistan, this percentage of population suffices enough to show how these people are being tortured there. When Pakistan became independent on 14th of August 1947, earlier I just made a remark that around 1.3% population of Hindus were there in Pakistan. But in 2020, it is 1.60. So there was no growth, or did not take place any growth of population of Hindus in Pakistan. On the contrary, the percentage of Muslims in India has gone up by 4.4%, whereas the percentage of Hindus in Pakistan has decreased. Why? So many reasons are there. Friends, so many regions are there, not only Hindus, rather Christians and Sikhs. You always go through the TV newspaper, television sets and newspapers that how and where, in which place these minorities are being tortured. So many sects, so many avenues are there for the torturing of the minorities in Pakistan. There is an NGO, Movement for Solidarity and Peace. It is a Pakistan-based NGO, not an Indian-based NGO. It states that around 1,000 Hindus and Christians girls are kidnapped, forced to convert to Islam, and forcibly married or sold into prostitution annually in Pakistan. My dear friends, this is an NGO based in Pakistan, which states, I am repeating once again, around 1,000 Hindu and Christian girls are kidnapped, forced to convert to Islam, and forcibly married or sold into prostitution annually in Pakistan, particularly in two provinces, Sindh province and Punjab province. Sindh province, where there is a good number of Hindus, and in Punjab, where there is a good number of Christians. And when these victims approach the police station, when they visit the police station to launch or to file an FIR, they are often refused. They are not given the access to file a paper in the police station, or even their cases are falsified so that the culprits do not find themselves behind the bar. So this is the situation, this is the condition of the minorities in Pakistan. And every day you go through the newspapers, you find it that how these people, how the minorities, either it is Hindus or Christians or Buddhists or Sikhs or Jain, or even a section of the Muslim community, that is Shia, are getting tortured, are getting suppressed and oppressed. In the last, I would like to say that the government, or the newly elected government of Pakistan, which tries to create it as a Naya Pakistan or New Pakistan, must come forward in order to safeguard the future of not only the Muslim, but all the minorities of Pakistan. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Sanjay Prasad, for your illuminating talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, paper presentation will begin. And we have the list of paper presenters who are going to present their papers right now. And I will request Professor Shahnaz Husn Jahan to chair this session. Madam?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you.
Ma'am, I will request you to chair this session. And our first paper presenter is Mokhlesur Rahman from Bangladesh. Mr. Mokhlesur Rahman.
So one question, like you are inviting each and every speaker one after another, right? Because yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. They will come one after another, and they will present their papers, right?
Okay.
And
thank you.
ma'am, I request you to chair this session, please.
Mokhlesur Rahman now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. And our first presenter is Mokhlesur Rahman from Bangladesh.
Yes.
Mr. Mokhlesur Rahman, are you there? Can you hear me, Mr. Mokhlesur Rahman? I think Mr. Mokhlesur Rahman is not there on the platform right now with us. Let's check whether he is here right now with us on the platform. Mr. Mokhlesur Rahman from Bangladesh, are you here with us right now? No. Right now he is not here. Then our second paper presenter is Anita Liju. Anita Liju, are you here? Madam Anita Liju?
Yes. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello?
Please be a little louder. We can't get your words properly. Please be a little louder, ma'am.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Please go on. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. I'm Anita.
It is possible, please, madam.
A research
Please.
scholar, Sri Shankaracharya University of Sanskrit, Kaladi in Kerala. My topic is the pathway of enlightenment and self-reliance Karma Yoga. Let us read. The pathway of enlightenment and self-reliance, Karma Yoga. The philosophy of yoga tells us that the root cause of all our sorrows and sufferings is loss of contact with our true self. The message of yoga is that there is no escape from the self, whether or not we are conscious of it, and that knowledge of the self is our only savior. Swami Vivekananda was a brilliant man with in-depth knowledge of Hindu scriptures. He spelled out the four pathways of attaining moksha from the worldly pleasure, that is Raja Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. These four yogas are ways to control the human senses, mind, and intellect. These are topics that all practitioners who want to lead a spiritual life must know. All yogas are interconnected. Swami Vivekananda urges us to progress towards the goal of life by coordinating the four yogas. In this paper, intended to discuss about the importance of Karma Yoga in Vivekananda philosophy. Most people scatter most of their powers because they do not know the secret of karma. It is used to give advice to a person who is immersed in karma on how to do karma properly. Vivekananda discussed the concept of karma in the Bhagavad Gita. He described Karma Yoga as a mental discipline that allows a person to carry out his source duties as a service to the entire world as path to enlightenment. The word karma is derived from the Sanskrit root kar, which means to do. All the activities are the manifestation of karma. Karma Yoga means the endeavor to reach divine realization through unselfish work. It says that even if you do not believe in God, just focus on your work with utmost honesty, dedication, and power of your mind. Be non-attached and keep working for work's sake. Instead of worrying about the results, leave the fruits of your works to the Lord. The whole idea of this teaching is that you should work like a master and not as a slave, work incessantly but not slave work. According to Sankhya philosophy, nature is composed of three forces called Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Karma Yoga has specially deal with these three materials. In creation, in animals, plants, and men, we find the typification of all these different materials. Our karma determines what we deserve, what we can accumulate. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the Karma Yoga is doing work, but with cleverness and as a science, knowing how to do work that will bring the greatest results. The ideal man is he who, in the midst of the greatest silence and solitude, finds the intense activity, and in the midst of the intensest activity, finds the silence and solitude of the desert. He has learned the secret of restraint. He has controlled himself. He goes through the streets of a big city with all its traffic, and his mind is as calm as if he were in a cave where not a sound could reach him, and intensely working all the time. That is the ideal Karma Yoga. In the first place, a man who can work for 5 days or even for 5 minutes without any selfish motive whatever, without thinking of future, of heaven, of punishment, or anything of the kind, has in his the capacity to become a powerful moral guide. If you want to do a great deed or good deed, do not even think about the consequences. The selfishness that arises in us through diligent practice will melt away, and eventually the time will come when we will be able to do something that is not really selfish. When that state is reached, all the forces will unite and the wisdom that is ours will be manifested. For the unconscious, all deeds are good, destroying selfishness and sensuality and means to attain self-liberation. Those who know the secret of the result of all deeds will be a combination of good and evil, like smoke about fire. The only way to do this is to engage in activities that produce the greatest good and the least evil. The whole world is working for liberation or freedom. Freedom for the mind, freedom for the body, freedom for the soul. Do karma constantly, but give up your addiction to karma. We must also be able to give up that action then we need to. This is what Karma Yoga says. Grief is caused by addiction, not karma. The lotus is lying in the water. Lotus leaves do not hold water. Your situation in the world will be the same through Karma Yoga. It is the attainment of moksha, the goal of all human nature, through selfless deeds. Sri Buddha was a true ideal Karma Yogi. The prophecy of Buddha was as follows. I am not interested in knowing your various arguments about God. What is the use of discussing various subtle theories about the soul? Do good and be good. It will lead you to salvation and to the truth if there is any truth. Sri Buddha was completely free from selfish motives. He showed great compassion for even the most humble of insects. Gita advises Karma Yoga. Action should be taken through the concentration. He who is united with God through yoga does all the deeds by immersing himself in concentration. Conclusion. Karma Yoga believes that the ego is a soul troublemaker, but when transformed through Karma Yoga, the same ego becomes a friend and troubleshooter. The follower of Karma Yoga faithfully performs his or her actions and renounces their results by making an offering to them into the fire.
Sorry for interruption. You have one minute more.
Hello?
You have 1 minute more.
Okay. Nishkama Karma brings the highest level of happiness and freedom. Through unselfishness only we can get it. So we have to work, and work. The results will take care of them. Thank you.
Okay. Our next paper presenter is Aruna Devi. And right now, I want to say that we're not taking questions at this moment. Now, Aruna Devi. Please go on. Aruna Devi, please unmute your microphone. Aruna Devi, please unmute your microphone. Yes, please unmute your microphone. Madam, you are not audible. Aruna Devi, you are not audible. Please unmute your microphone.
She's doing.
Madam, the option is right there in front of you. It's right there on the screen, right in front of you. The option is there right in front of you on the screen. Madam, please unmute yourself. Unmute the microphone.
She's trying. Just wait.
Hello? Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, you are audible.
Hello,
You
sir.
are audible.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Catherine in Hooker. It is Catherine and Aruna Devi. Aruna Devi, you are audible.
Next.
No, Aruna Devi join করছে না এই মাত্র।
Sir, am I audible?
Aruna Devi, yes, you are audible. Please go on. Hello, Aruna Devi. You are not audible right now. Right now, you are not audible.
Because you have left the meeting
Audible
from
now?
your. Yes,
Yes,
now
right
it is
you are
fine.
audible. Yes. You
Oh,
have
sorry
Yeah,
for
Usha.
making. Yeah, sorry
Yeah,
for
yeah,
making
yeah.
you trouble. Just now, system has got some.
yeah.
Thank you for considering me. Yeah.
I can understand.
Thank you.
Please go on.
Yeah.
You have 5
Yeah.
minutes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. My topic is Indian folk tradition. I especially deal with the Tamil Nadu traditional culture because I am from Tamil Nadu. So I am very interested to put forth my own experiences in this research paper. So this is my introduction. In India, innumerable cultures and customs are widespread with various policies and maxims. Among these venerable aspects, an effort is put forth to exhibit the traditional customs of Tamil Nadu. And gone are the days, folks with more virtues and principles, and their faith lay more on chastity, honesty, sincerity, ethics, moral values, and innate virtues. Conscience plays predominant role, which has fervent impression on human beings' life. Predecessors of the family will be forerunners in modeling their descendants, being the guiding device for the entire generation to steer the folks to the right track, which is prevailing even now. To make the people believe the system of more values, they rely completely on God, because some people believe the existence of deity. Irrespective of deity, all disseminate unique ethical values that human beings should follow virtuous path, and if not, people will be penalized. In this regard, an eminent practices followed by India are mostly appreciated and accepted by umpteen number of foreigners. In this regard, some of the exclusive practices are limelighted with a steep focus in this paper. Hence, Tamil Nadu traditional customs are put forth here with lively illustrations and exemplary paradigms. To cite a few, Jallikattu, wedding ceremonies and system, food items during ceremonies and festivals, final rituals, festivities for girls, fasting, and deity rituals. These are noted practices observed by Tamilians, which are only one of its kind, and some of the other people and the people of other states in domestic country would like to adopt due to its magnanimous elements. Coimbatore and Pollachi slang of Tamil has earned a secure place in India that lots of people have tried to put into practice. As told in Tamil films, Coimbatore folks are enriched with rural slangs and rituals. Irrespective of their literacy levels and status, all should do basic mundane tasks by ladies at home during the cock crowing time. It is listed such as waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, spraying water in the entrance, beautifying the entrance with rangolis, taking bath using turmeric and the essence of aromatic flower, cleaning the image of deity, and offering prayer with flowers, and at last doing household works and preparing food items within the stipulated time, irrespective of their status and their religion. It is mandatory for all the ladies. If it is not performed by them, then it is considered as the guilty and people will start scolding it. Ladies are considered as demigods if they are serving with their husbands. If not, they will not be considered as ladies at all. They will be considered as an outcast. So this is a system which has been practiced from the past time, but now this time has changed. This era has changed the ladies into a different dimension. Time has changed with the novel practices imported from foreign countries. So nowadays, divorcees and widows have regained their ideologies and changed their customs of Tamil Nadu and replaced the traditional customs with novice practice. And it is enlisted remarriage after the death of husband, attending all cheerful and sad occasions by wearing flowers, colored dress, and ornaments. Third one, applying divorce if wedding is unhappy or torturous. Complaining in sufferings to police personnel if faced any in marriage life. Demanding equal property from parents or from husband family. And last, holding the prominent position in the family even though they are divorcees or widows. And the second thing I like to put forth is joint family system in Tamil Nadu. Joint family system is an ancient custom to club all the in-laws together along with the elders. It is a cluster of kith and kin dwelling in the same roof with a unique mindedness and unified thoughts. Forefathers will be the head of the family, so decision will be taken by them to execute any kind of tasks. Rearing the children will be easier because elders will grow the kids by providing all kinds of help and assistance. Folks can learn lots of skills if they follow a joint family system because all the tasks are delegated based on the age and experience, hence all may not work on all the tasks. This joint family system generates more positive energy to the folks and it stimulates optimism, which is elixir of life. As mentioned by our fathers of nation, a father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, real life resides in the huts of hamlets. This unique system is the ideal lifestyle and it is stated proudly in abroad countries and quoted by many foreigners. Sufferings, pains, happiness, hardships, and all other good and bad occasions will be shared among the members of the family. So
Madam,
that's why.
Sorry for interruption. You have 1 minute more.
Thank you. And the second one is hospitality. I hope you have seen through many films that hospitality is inevitable in Tamil Nadu. We use plantain leaves and that too in the correct direction, and we welcome with our holding our own hands. And when they depart, we will give them with the gift from our own field. The harvesting which has been done from our own field. The second one. Third one is rituals and festivals in Tamil Nadu. Pongal celebration, Amman festivals, and Skandar Sasti rites. These are the three important or magnanimous festivals that are celebrated in Tamil Nadu. I hope you might have seen from most of the films. And even I am the devotee of Lord Muruga. I observe a 7-day fasting for Lord Muruga that is called Kandar Sasti. And exclusive music composition, which contains the whole life of Lord Muruga, is called Kandar Sasti Kavasam, which we have to chant for 2 days throughout the 6 days. This is exclusive festival which we are celebrating here. So I'm very happy to render my experience about the things which are being done in Tamil Nadu. Thank you very much for having given me such a wonderful opportunity to express my opinion about my own culture. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Dibojyoti Das, he is going to present his paper, and after all the papers get presented, then we will request Professor Husnul Jahan to comment on the papers. Ma'am, after all the papers get presented, I will request you to comment on those papers. Okay. Now, our next paper presenter is Dibojyoti Das. Mr. Dibojyoti Das. Aruna Devi, please unmute your mic. Dibojyoti Dash. Mr. Dibojyoti Dash, are you there? Mr. Dibojyoti Dash, are you there with us? I think Mr. Dibojyoti Dash is not with us right now. So we're going to the next paper presenter, Dr. G.M. Huger. Dr. G.M. Huger. Dr. Huger, are you here?
Sir, is it audible?
Yes, yes. We can hear you.
Yeah, sir. Shall I start?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. Good evening, all of you. I am G.M. Huger, Assistant Professor of CSI College of Commerce, Dharwad from Karnataka. Now I'm going to present my paper on the influence of Indian culture and civilization on Southeast Asia. As you know, the influence of culture on economic development in South Asia has drawn scholarly interest since. Hindu Dharma has had a profound impact in Southeast Asia's cultural development and history. The civilization of India influenced the languages, scripts, written tradition, literature, calendars, belief system, and artistic aspects of these people and nations. Indian influence started around 200 BC until around the 15th century when local politics absorbed Hindu-Buddhist influence. The cultural expansion of the Indians found a very conducive field in the region of Southeast Asia. Behind this cultural expansion, undoubtedly remains colonial activity of the Indians. The region was a land of attraction for spices, minerals, and metals for which it had been frequently referred to as a Swarnabhumi or in Jataka stories or Bharat Katha and sugar. It's a universal trend of history that when people of two countries live together, the people of more advanced culture automatically influence the people with less developed and smaller culture. The cultural domination of the Indians in the Southeast Asian region was also no exception to this trend. The superiority of Indian culture with its liberal and multidimensional approach began to influence the lifestyle of primitive areas through religion, literature, social customs, traditions, and so on. Indian influences were left in their society, religion, and spirituality, art and horticulture, and so on. Now I'm going to brief about the influence on the society. The culture of the Indians over Southeast Asian region can be better understood if we take into account their society and the social features. The Varna system of Vedic Indian society was introduced in most of these areas. Asian literature makes a reference to the Chatur Veda, so-called four Varnas, with a specific mention of Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. But its caste system was accepted by the local people with less rigidity. The system of intercaste marriage and dinner was widely prevalent. The ideals of marriage ceremony, family life, and family relations had lots of similarities with Indian traditions. The Brahmin and Kshatriyas classes enjoyed superior position in the society. Moreover, the habit of dress, diet, and ornaments also remarkable. In the social system, Indians' traces are to be found among the girls who have been given the literacy or the liberty regarding the education, so-called, to choose their own husbands as in the Indian system of Swayamvara. Thus, Southeast Asian societies show marked comparison with Indian culture. Hinduism and Indian socio-cultural traditions were not only a civilizing factor, but also a motivational factor for progress and prosperity. As far as religion is concerned, remarkable trend of Indian religious heritage are found in Southeast Asian countries. The Southeast Asian people was the existence of a large number of ashramas, which were established in the pattern of Indian temples, mathas, viharas, and agraharas associated with Vaishnavism, Shaivism, and Buddhism. The existence of these institutions refers to the prevalence of a spirit of socio-religious harmony. The ashramas in particular upheld great moral as well as the spiritual values. They were centers of devotional activities. With large royal endowments behind them, the ashramas carried on these works with devotion. A large number of such ashramas existed all over Cambodia. As far as literature is concerned, when the Southeast Asian society and religion were under the cultural dimension of India, local literatures were also affected by Indian influence. The study of Indian religious literature not only influenced the religious habit of the people, but also affected their linguistic tradition. The medium of literature and inspiration was both in Sanskrit and Pali languages. These two languages were highly cultivated by the people and used both in their royal courts and social life also. Southeast Asian literature also throw light on the study of the Vedas, Puranas, legends and epics like Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The names of Manu, Panni and Patanjali are also associated with their literacy activities. The people of region introduced geographical names associated with the Indian region. They still call their schools, libraries and other public places by their original Sanskrit names. Thus, Sanskrit language and literature along with Pali had made a profound impact on the cultural heritage of Southeast Asia. As far as art is concerned, along with changes and influences in the society, art and architecture also reflected new traditions and designs imported from India. Temples, images of gods, which will be exhibit the impact of Indian art and architecture. They show their characteristic features of Indian iconography and artistic excellence. Among the several Southeast Asian...
you have 1 minute more.
Yes, sir. Buddhist and Brahminical temples of Java and Myanmar are remarkable. Ramayana and Mahabharata are pictured on the walls of the main temple. Their conception, design, execution, and discovery to finish testify to the high standard of cultural relationship between India and Southeast Asia. Thus, Indian cultural expansion had touched almost all aspects of Southeast Asian civilization. The influence of India can also be felt in the food and flavors of Southeast Asia. There are many spices in common between Indian and Southeast Asian foods. Indian herbal medicines also reached Southeast Asia from ancient times and are used even today in many countries. Let me to brief about overall influence, so-called cultural and civilization influence on Southeast Asian nations. India's civilization and cultural values are spread across the global and accepted by Southeast Asian countries. Following are a few instances. Number one, Cambodia is the largest Hindu temple, which is coming Hinduism and Buddhism. Number second, Ramayana and Mahabharata scriptures are widely prevalent in Southeast Asian nations. Sriram and Malaysia, Sriram in Malaysia and Ramkar in Cambodia are localized version of Ramayana. Number third, reverse exchanges in also seen. Number four, India's family values and norms and traditions are accepted in Malaysia and Indonesia also. Number fifth, the epics and religious TV shows like Suryaputra Karn, Mahabharata, Radha Krishna, Porus are translated in Thai language and also broadcasted in their language. Number six, the Muslim marriages, ceremonies and cloths in Malaysia have been widely influenced by Hinduism and Buddhism. Let me to conclude. India has a rich culture and that has become our identity. Indian religion, literature, social customs, etc. influenced to a very great extent. There is a great culture in our country that we should always welcome guests like gods. That is why we have a famous saying like Atiti Devo Bhava. So the basic roots in our culture are spiritual practices and humanity. Indian cultural tradition acted not only as a civilizing factor for the native locals, but also acted as a motivating factor to develop their own socio-religious cultural setup following the Indian style. Thus, in the early centuries of Christian era, India built an extensive cultural empire in Southeast Asia. Their trend continued for centuries together. As a result, the high ideals of India philosophy, spiritualism, and values permeated the very spirit of the people. They developed interaction and were benefited by coming in contact with superior culture. Today, geopolitics and globalization have changed
Okay, your time is
the
up.
dynamics of Indian subcomponent as well as the Southeast Asia. With growing economic aspiration of these countries, India could sync its trade interest with them by taking advantage of already established foreign cultural activities and so on others foundation by our forefathers. So thank you, Nada.
Now our next paper presenter is Monohar Kumar. Our next paper presenter is Monohar Kumar. Monohar Kumar. Mr. Monohar Kumar. I think right now he is not with us here. Mr. Monohar Kumar, are you there? I think no. Next, Sneha Joshi. Sneha Joshi.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Please go on.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Josephine Sneha, previously an assistant professor. Right now, I'm an editor cum reviewer in an online international literary journal called Agile. So, the title of the paper I'll be presenting today is Modern Indian Diaspora, a study on the theme of memory, home, and homecoming in Bharati Mukherjee's novel Desirable Daughter. So, to begin with, the word diaspora defines scattering of people from their motherland and also people who settle in alien countries. So the Indian diaspora the Indian diasporic novels deals with the issues of alienation, isolation, cultural dislocation, and many more things that are faced by the people of diaspora. So to be particular or to be specific, we see that there are two diasporas in Indian literature. One is old and the other one is new. So the old diaspora talks about the people who were forcefully taken from one place due to various issues like war, trade or slavery. Whereas the new diaspora or the modern diaspora, we call it as, talks about people who voluntarily goes to other countries in search of new jobs, better life and opportunities. So in the novel I have taken for study, Desirable Daughters, written by Bharati Mukherjee. So Bharati Mukherjee herself is an Indo-American writer and she is considered as writer of immigrant's life because she was born in India and then due to various reasons like higher studies and marriage, she traveled to various parts of the country. So in the novel taken for analysis, the protagonist Tara, she is also somewhat similar to the novelist we see, that is Bharati Mukherjee. So Tara is born in Calcutta and she wishes to pursue higher education. But her family is very much traditional and conventional, so they push her into arranged marriage and then after marriage she is settled in America. So initially Tara pacifies herself that her lifestyle in America is best because back in her hometown, that is in India, they will not actually agree to a divorced woman like Tara. Yes, Tara is divorced now and she is currently living with her Hungarian boyfriend called Andy. So Tara lives a life of liberal and freedom with her only son and her boyfriend. So everything is well. So the first theme I have highlighted is memory. So all goes well until Tara receives an anonymous letter from a young guy called Chris. So Chris actually in the letter claims himself to be an illegitimate son of one of Tara's sisters. So Tara has two sisters, Padma and Parvati. So they are also settled in America. So this Chris claims himself to be an illegitimate son and Tara wanted to know the truth. So she confronts Padma, but then Padma is clearly unbothered about her past. So she is very much interested to live in her present, but Tara does not stop here. So she goes on bringing the past memories and then she feels struck in America. So incidents happen in such a way that she starts comparing her life in America with that of the life in India. So this leads on to the second theme I have highlighted, that is home. So the home here we are talking about is not just made up of bricks and buildings. Instead, home is made up of complex emotions, relationships, and memories embedded to it. So though Tara actually feels that America will be her new home, but then later she recalls an incident where we see that her house faces a terrorist attack and their house is completely burned down. So as a result, her husband and her son gets injured as well. So Tara starts thinking that in such a way that if she was in India, she actually belongs to a respectable family in her surroundings. So no one would have dared to touch her or harm their family. So that is when the realization dawns upon her. So whatever happens, the Americans will see her only as an alien and never as a brothers and sisters. So this incident acts as a catalyst to move on to the next theme, that is homecoming. So homecoming theme plays a vital role in all the diasporic novels in literature. So in this novel, we see that homecoming take place physically. So in two ways, homecoming will take place, that is physically and mentally. So here Tara comes to a conclusion that her roots are very much strong. So she comes to India and she decides to stay there. So all the internal confusion, chaos, everything disappears once she enters India, and the novel also ends in a very peaceful manner. So the second kind of homecoming I spoke about is in mental way. So Bharati Mukherjee actually wants to prove the point that not all diasporic persons are same. So some will be like Tara, they want to physically come or meet their own roots back. But then there will be another set of people like Tara's sisters. So they do not come back. Instead, they stay in America. Maybe they would travel to their roots, to India or Calcutta in their memories. So memories plays a vital role there. So Tara is lucky that she is able to come back. So to conclude with, I would like to say that Bharati Mukherjee needs to be appreciated to prove the point that all the themes, that is memory, home, homecoming, are all interconnected and they plays a vital role in the life of a diasporic person. And also Bharati Mukherjee is able to talk about the chaos, confusion, dilemma faced by...
You have 1 moment.
Thank you, sir. So all the things are connected and the dilemma faced by a diasporic woman is clearly put in such a way because Bharati Mukherjee herself is a diasporic person. So she has sprinkled all the autobiographical elements in the fictional world of Tara to prove us all a point. So with that note, thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. Thank you.
Okay. Divyajyoti Das has joined us. Divyajyoti Das. Can you hear me? Divyajyoti Das?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. You please go on.
Can
You
I start
have
from
5 minutes. Divyajyoti Das, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Please go on.
With due respect to the chair and greetings to all the participants, I shall give my presentation. I shall try to keep it short. The topic of my presentation is positioning the Ramayana and Mahabharata in the colonial legacy of Southeast Asia, colonial within brackets, within quotation. I'm beginning my article trying to capture the true notion of colonialism by taking resource to data available in common databases as well as scholarly books on post-colonial critical theory. What is found is that it is essentially an imperialist policy of exerting domination over a weaker country for the purpose of economic exploitation in terms of plundering of the native resources as well as manipulating its policies for the benefit of the mother country. The hegemony at social, cultural, linguistic, and literary levels come hand in hand with the political hegemony established in the colonized nation. Hence, post-colonial evaluation of various cultural and literary outputs can be helped with a certain nature and extent of colonialism in a given context. Based on the claims about the existence of ancient Indian colonies in the Southeast Asian region and the concept of Indianization and Sanskritization of that area made by some eminent scholars associated with the Greater India movement, independence era. I have sought to examine the literature of those countries for traces of a colonial legacy. It was found that the ancient Indian epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, were very popular in that region, so much so that it has generated several adaptations in local languages. Along with its version in Old Japanese, the Ramayana has found currency as Kakawin Ramayana in Indonesia, Hikawateri Rama in Malaysia, Riamgar or Ramakirti in Cambodia, Pralak Praram in Laos, Yawazato in Myanmar, Ramakian in Thailand. On the other hand, the Mahabharata has also found popularity in the form of Hika Tandava, Purvasrama, Bharatyuddha, as well as many other Kakawins and Kizung stories. After a detailed comparative study of some of these individual specimens with their originals, it is found that apart from mostly adhering to the fundamental plot, the translators were allowed to consider a considerable amount of freedom in dealing with the material. It was far from being only a transliteration. The translation in some places seems to be bordering on transcreation as well. Adding to this fact, the immense acceptability and currency of these epics in the popular culture of the region by virtue of the transcendence from religious icons to ideals of heroism, loyalty, righteousness, moral uprightness, selfless devotion, and fortitude, the case appears to be anything but one of hegemonic imposition or superstition by a colonial ruler. The claims of colonization can at best be exonerated as a counter narrative of the British imperialist notion of racial superiority in the pre-independence era. As a matter of fact, Indianization or Sanskritization of the Far East is an undeniable fact, but it was a matter of cultural negotiation between India and Southeast Asia on horizontal dimensions, where the Southeast Asians were not any passive recipient, but a major moderator in a process. We can even say, in some cases, the drive may have come from the local principalities of the region to deliberately adopt or to come under the influence of the great Indian cultural mandala in order to seek legitimacy for their royal authority. So, as well as to escape the growing Chinese cultural expansion of the region. So, thank you. I shall conclude my paper with regards to everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I'll request Shormila Jajodia to present her paper. Shormila Jajodia.
Hello.
Yes, you are audible, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. The title of my paper is Indian Diaspora, Its Impact on Literature and Culture. Indian diaspora represents NRIs, persons of Indian origin and overseas citizens of India staying in various parts of the world either due to their job commitments, education, temporarily or shifted permanently due to other reasons. Such Indians too have contributed a lot not only to literature and culture of India, but to the global culture and literature. In COVID-19 era, the whole world is locked down and struggling on the health front. Subsequently, it is following the ancient Indian culture of yoga and greeting by folding hands instead of shaking hands to enhance immunity and maintain social or physical distancing. Indian diaspora is well known for its integrity, hard work, and intelligence is very evident at doctors, engineers, bankers, scientists, and others in various fields have also done commendable job. For example, Indra Nui, Satya Nadella, Sundar Pichai, etc. The diasporic writers too have written on various aspects of life, cultural differences, nostalgia, immigration, identity, and whatnot. The writers like Rohinton Mistry, Bharti Mukherjee, Kiran Desai, Aga Saad Ali, Salman Rushdie have earned praise for themselves by winning international literary awards, prizes, and brought laurels for India as well. In the light of these observations, my paper is directed to analyze the significant role of Indian diaspora and its impact on literature and culture. And literature and culture are interrelated and an integral part of the essence of a country. And literature influences culture and culture influences literature. To understand this interrelation in Indian as well as global perspective, the texts selected are Rohinton Mistri's Such a Long Journey, Anita Desai's Fasting Feasting, Aga Shahid Ali's Postcard from Kashmir. Rohinton Mistry is an Indian-born Canadian novelist who has won the Governor General's Award and the Commonwealth Writers' Prize for the Best Book of the Year for Such a Long Journey. Such a Long Journey depicts the essence of India explicitly at multiple levels minutely. He has captured India as a whole in the backdrop of the cultural diversity and the unity inherent, the value of friendship and relations, the Indian lingua franca, the essence of Indian philosophy regarding life and death, brotherhood and love, role of coincidences and destiny keep running throughout in the background of the domestic and political melodrama. In Such a Long Journey, Rohinton Mistry mainly talks about 1971 Bombay and particularly that period of time when war breaks out between India and Pakistan, or what is to become Bangladesh. The adverse life of Gustav Noble's family narrated against this political backdrop. Mistry's expertise is very much evident when he connects the major events in India with those in the private sphere of the Noble family and that of the other important characters in the novel expeditiously. The microcosmic family dimensions in the backdrop of international political disruption also shows up to which degree the political and personal realities are intertwined and how much the microcosm echoes the macrocosm, since the lives of the characters representing common Indian public are deeply affected by local corruption and the government's inadequacy. Thus, Mistry manages to portray Indian culture and family life brilliantly, setting it against the backdrop of the subcontinent's volatile post-colonial politics. In this novel, Gustad is a middle-class bank employee whose son Shorab leaves the house, and due to generation gap, the father wants him to become engineer. He doesn't want to become engineer, so he leaves the home, but later on at the end, he returns home. In Anita Desai's Fasting Feasting, Arun, the son of the family, is sent to USA to study for study, and he is unable to adjust there. He finds the food in the USA very much different from the Indian food. Papa has fulfilled his own dream by sending Arun to America, as his blank face now stared at the letter and faced another phase of his existence arranged for him by Papa. Arun, a vegetarian by nature, doesn't find the food at US very good, but tries his best to adjust. He feels that he had no past, no family, and no country. He stayed at Patton's temporarily at his father's instruction when university is closed for summer and leaves for university as soon as it starts. Mrs. Patton wants to try vegetarian food for a long time, so befriends Arun. She tells Arun once, "Shall we have bean sprouts together? I thought I would steam them." Arun nods his head. She notices, "Oh dear," she says blackly, "maybe you don't like bean sprouts." And she throws the sprouts into garbage bin. She lines up packets of spices, jars, boxes of lentils and rice that she has collected with much pains for him. She invites Arun to cook his dinner himself. He cooks the lentils, adding the spices given to him by Mrs. Patton without noticing the spices, cloves, bay leaves, green peppers, turmeric, etc. And the smell of the spices is strong and foreign, makes him sneeze and infect with recklessness. Mrs. Patton says,
"Ma'am, you have 1 minute more."
Yeah. Patton's daughter Melanie comes. She said, "What this you are cooking?" She doesn't like the Indian food. She compares it to shit. Mrs. Patton said Americans are very healthy people, more healthy than Indians. The statistics are just awful, but we have got to learn what to eat and how to eat. In Aga Shahid Ali's Postcard from Kashmir, Aga Shahid Ali is expressing his nostalgic feeling of loss he is experiencing at being very far from home. as home is the only place where one can feel happy, secure, and safe, and we all can easily connect to poets' feeling in COVID-19 era. As home is the where we are safe during lockdown caused due to a microvirus corona. Ali expresses now his house is 4 by 6 inches, means what he can see in the postcard is very small. It is very different from what he has in his memory, but he can just see that close to his home. The mountain Himalaya is also half inches in size and it is in his hand. A person who is away from home can only understand how it feels to be away from home is very much evident in these lines as Ali can't return to his home anymore. He can just enjoy his home in his memories, which is also not focused as it's fading. So it's like a negative of a photograph, which is black and white and hasn't been developed still. His love for Kashmir, mountain Himalaya, and river Jhelum is overpowering him so much that he feels that when he will return to Kashmir, in case it happens, the colors won't be brilliant. Means he will be too old to enjoy the bright colors in the surrounding, or things in the surrounding will be so old that he won't be able to enjoy. He also recollects that the water of the river Jhelum was vividly clean and blue colored. Thus, the postcard seems to him like a film roll, flashing back and screening the incidents from his past life, which agonizes him and his anguished head at his loss of home. He is an outsider, insider, and insider outsider in America and suffers from identity crisis and he doesn't know where he belongs to. As we all know that so many NRIs have been brought back to India under Vande Bharat mission during this pandemic period. So they only know what they have gone through emotionally when they were away from home. To conclude, these literary texts clearly highlight that home is the only place one can always return to, as Gustad's son Shaurabh in such a long journey ultimately returns to his home. Arun in Fasting Feasting also misses his home, food and family at USA. Ali in Postcard from Kashmir is too nostalgic about his home at Kashmir. These diasporic writers have also projected that family, friendship, nation, culture and literature are equally important during difficult times like COVID-19. Cultural differences do affect the lives of migrants, but adjustment and struggle make it possible to survive despite differences and difficulties. It also underlined through this text. Thank you.
Okay. Now, our next paper presenter is Shabina Lucky. Shabina Lucky, are you here?
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go on. You have 5 minutes. Please go on.
Thank you, sir, for giving me. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity and a warm greeting to all of you who are here. I would like to introduce myself. I am a PhD research scholar, Department of English at Aligarh Muslim University. Now I'm going to present my paper. The title of my research paper is The Challenges of Multicultural Identity in the Indian Diaspora from a Literary Perspective of Rohinton Mystery. This study attempts to show how Rohinton mystery, as an important figure among the writers in the Indian diaspora, has tried to reveal about the experience of being the diaspora's minority community in India with the help of his English fiction writing. He was born in a Parsi Zoroastrian community in Bombay, India, and migrated to Toronto in Canada in 1975 at the age of 23 with his wife. As a Parsi and then as an immigrant in Canada, Mystery sees himself as a symbol of double displacement, and that's why his novels articulate the quest for an identity and the relationship with the homeland and multiculturalism through his vision on a multicultural society and the place of minorities in it. Even his identity, he is himself hyphenated as an Indian-Canadian Parsi, which is reflected in all his works, having a record of the complex tradition of Parsi history. The way he depicts the Parsis' culture, their habits and customs is unique. Mystery's historical situation involves construction of multicultural identity in the nation to which one immigrates and a complex relation with the cultural history of the nation he has left behind. This paper also examines his writings containing little traces of Canada, the place where he lies presently. Rather, he is obsessed with the colonial and post-colonial experiences in India. He recollects the memories of his place of origin, that is Bombay, and also portrays his own religious community, the Parsi community. This paper aims to indicate that Rohingya mystery, through his diasporic discourse, has well depicted his ancestral background, his community's engaged situation in a metropolis city like Bombay, and his deep attachment with nostalgic India. All diaspora's discussions has also insightful discourse of diaspora fictional literature came into being through the philosophy of post-colonial theory. By and large, the fiction of diaspora is replayed with issues related to movement, dislocations, crossing borders, multiple identities, cross cultures, homeland and receptive land, etc. Writers like Rohinton Mystery become beneficiaries of the prevalent discursive practices in the countries of adoption. Mystery is allowed not only to exercise economic preferences but also to gain intellectual and cultural gratification. His migration has made that possible. Yet the act of crossing over makes him a prey to pressures from the descending and receiving cultures. On being a Parsi in India and then an immigrated person in other country like Canada, Mystery distinguishes himself as one of those group of Indians who have to grapple with not just one diasporic displacement but multiple displacements. This is the reason why his novel articulate the pursuit for an identity, connection to the original land, Canadian location in diaspora to put questions pertaining to the likely to be puzzled by the fact that much of his writings in the last 2 decades have been about India and not Canada. Although he has lived in Canada from 1975, he has shown his consciousness to express a reliable image of the post-colonial India through his novels. In this regard, John Annie says, diasporic writers paint the vastness and the complexities of the home country, which contains everything in multitudes, multiple truths, multiple crises, multiple realities, and this diversity is portrayed for the worldwide reading public and chiefly the Indians. So, she has narrators is justified by a few stories in his first collection of short stories titled as Tales from Firoz Shah Bagh, which is published in 1987. Although the overall quantity of diasporic literature is meager in his corpus, after moving to Canada at the age of 23, Mystery once again returns to his own land, India, for subject matters and themes in his fiction, represents the displaced features of migration. Indeed, one can witness
you have 1 minute more. Sorry for interruption, you have 1 minute.
Sir, thank you. So now I would like to conclude my paper. The writings of Mystery are governed by the experience of being a diasporic minority community in India and also the difficult situation of being an immigrant in Canada. Mystery's novels are about authority, class hierarchies, personal betrayal, political supremacy, and corruption. Savita Goyal says that Rohinton Mystery in his works tries to revisit the history of his homeland and defines his ethnic identity and sense of self. A study of the mind will also place in proper perspective the salutary and sterling role played by novelists in bringing about social balance and reforms. In society to reconstruct and restructure itself on the basis of mankind, a constitutional assurance notwithstanding the reformatory is come from within this process. A writer has a limited but powerful role to play. Mystery as amply demonstrated and humanistic leanings in their text as the following shows. Besides, humanism has evolved as a universal law than mean mentality of man. In fact, this subject is highly relevant to the present day, for as I observe, even if thousand natural disasters like tsunamis cannot save man from its caste, lineage, and racial relationship between individual and society. Within the boundaries set for an artist, mystery has pointed out the inadequacies and weaknesses of our social and political order. He has lashed out against the evil influence of this order on the individual, who is always at the receiving end. Thank you, sir. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah. Okay.
I have stopped here.
Thank you.
Hello. Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for your paper presentation. And now our next paper presenter is Surajit Kole. Surajit Kole, are you there? Surajit Kole. Mr. Surajit Kole, are you here right now with us? Mr. Surajit Kole? I think he is not here with us right now. And next paper presenter is Ashmita Shikdar. Ashmita Shikdar, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Please go on. You have 5 minutes. Please go on.
Just a moment. I will be sharing a PPT. Can you see my PPT? Hello?
Not yet.
Hello?
No, madam. No,
Not yet.
Is it visible?
No. Not yet. Now.
Okay, can you see it?
No.
Hello?
No, we can't see you.
Can't see it.
Ma'am, may we help you?
Actually, I did share it, but I don't think everyone can see it.
Okay, okay.
Yes, now it is sharing. Now we are completing. Thank you.
Okay,
very nice.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I am Ashmita Shikdar, an MS student from Deccan College, and today my topic is a brief survey of human-animal relationship in Indian proto-history in the light of Harappan seals. To begin with, we all know that the Harappan civilization has been considered as the first urbanization in Indian history. In this map, you can see the distribution of Harappan sites indicated by the white dots. It was an extensive civilization that stretched from the Sindh and Balochistan region right up to modern UP in east-west direction, and almost covered an area of 2 million square kilometers. So here you can see the yellow triangles indicating the regional urban hubs. If you follow my cursor, here is Rakhi Garhi, then Harappa, Ganeriwala, Mohenjo-daro, and finally Dholavira in the south. In the next slide, you'll see a classification of the cultural phases of the Harappan culture, with the early Harappan phase starting off somewhere in the middle of the 4th millennium BCE, and the mature Harappan phase starting off around the middle of the 3rd millennium BCE, the most developed and important phase by all means. Now, the Indus culture has often been given a lot of significance because of the commercial point of view. They were precisely called an urbanization because they followed extensive economic diversification with the preponderance of trade. And one of the most important paraphernalia in this commercial enterprise were the seals. To define seals in a nutshell, they were tablets of different shapes, usually made on very soft mineral like steatite or soapstone, sometimes even on terracotta, and they were used to impress clay lumps that sealed containers, doors, storerooms, and possibly verify documents as per the commercial requirements. The stamp seals that I'll be focusing on are primarily divided into two types: the button seal with the extended boss at the back, and the intaglios or the reverse image seal. Now, coming to the central theme of my paper, what exactly did these people represent on their seals? Primarily animals, along with a lot of here you see the elephant, the zebra, or the rhinoceros, the Capra falconeri or the markhor, the buffalo, and the tiger. At any point of time, the people at any region are likely to represent what affects them. The animals must have been extremely essential to them from the utilitarian point of view, and in case of the wild animals, the depiction might have been an attempt to ward off any harm coming from these creatures. If we look closely at the morphology of the seals, we will find that the domesticated varieties, such as the zebu here, which I'm indicating with my cursor, has been depicted very precisely with very immaculate features like the dewlap, the hump, whereas the wilder varieties like the tiger is a bit vague. Study into the Paleolithic rock art of the Chauvet caves in France around 25,000 BCE reveals that the Paleolithic people there were representing a lot of animals on the cave walls because their most important aim was to have an abundance of these animals, probably for food supplies. So we can consider perhaps the agrarian community upon which the civilization of Indus was based also wanted an abundant supply of these animals coming to them. In the next slide, I come to some narrative sequences in the seals. The one on the left contains a human procession. Above it, there is a caprid with human face and elaborate horns, and anthropomorph emerging from the ficus religiosa tree. And again, on the left, we have some kind of regenerative cycle indicated by the presence of unicorn with single horn, and again, the leaves of ficus religiosa tree. So ethnographic studies into the lives of tribal communities have suggested that many times the tribes consider the animals as a source for different kinds of wisdom, and they present these received wisdom as a body of unified knowledge, which often takes chimeric forms like the ones you'll see in the next slide. Here you see on the right an animal which combines the morphological feature of different creatures. The tail is like a snake, the hind limbs like a tiger, the anterior body like a bovine, and the face like a human being. So the next seals reveal a kind of narrative sequence once again. This shows an anthropomorph engaged in a kind of conflict with a tiger, and incidentally, both of them are horned. Now, coming to agrarian societies, the concept of the horn or antlers becomes very significant because horns are often taken as a symbol of prowess. Particularly studies in the Chalcolithic cultures of Deccan region in India has revealed that antlers of animals have often been used for the purpose of ploughing the land. Therefore, land, fertility, antler, plough, and productivity all become entwined together in one single chain. This seal, if I take it as an early stage of conflict between the still wild hominid and the tiger, the next seal shows the anthropomorph overpowering the wild. And finally, we come to the very well-known Pashupati Seal, where an anthropomorph is seated on a high pedestal with three faces crowned with elaborate horns and surrounded by wild and domestic animals. Does this suggest that the hominids, by dint of their cognitive faculties, have overcome the other living creatures and have assumed to themselves the role of the protector? The concept of the horn, as you will see persist throughout the Harappan period and other agrarian cultures, because as long as man kept an agrarian way of life, plowing and land and fertility remained important to him. This is a motif from a potsherd discovered in Harappa, which shows a bovid with horns and flowers growing out of it, once again stressing on the fertility concept.
Sorry for interruption, you have 1 minute more.
Okay. Once again, this dish that you see on the left consists of humped cattle with elaborate horns, and this image on the right is some kind of terracotta artifact with perforations shaped as horns, which has perforations and hence might have been used as an amulet or auspicious symbol. Hence, once again, it points at the importance of the agrarian production. Looking at all this, we come to the conclusion that animals were extremely valued by the Harappans. They were domesticating a large number of animals. The renderings of the domestic breeds are much more detailed and morphologically immaculate because the people were observing them from a very close range. And though we call the Harappan civilization just as a civilization, yet apart from the urban sites, there were numerous other regions which had people dwelling there who were still in the nomadic state, having regular contact with the wild, and there were pastoralists roaming about with their herds, as there were agriculturists. So from the seals, the concept of the unity of all forms of lives becomes apparent from the narratives. So in a nutshell, we can say that the Indus people were very well aware of this state of transition that they had witnessed right from the wild state to the urbanized state in company of these animals. And they took every opportunity to acknowledge it and recognize this. The seals were traveling to different parts of the cultural realms of the Harappans, and perhaps this innate ideal that the seals contained was an attempt to unify the people. And these seals also traveled to foreign lands like Mesopotamia, where the ideals that the people held sacred to them were made widely known. Thank you. That'll be all.
Thank you. Our next paper presenter is Dr. Naga Madhurev. Dr. Naga Madhurev. Dr. Naga Madhurev, are you here? Dr. Naga Madhurev, are you here? I think Dr. Naga Madhurev is not here with us right now. The next paper presenter is Boruna Kumar Behera. Boruna Kumar Behera, are you here? Okay.
Sir, I am audible, sir?
Yes, clearly. Please go on. 5 minutes.
Sir, good evening and to all the dignitaries present on this platform. Myself is Boruna Kumar Behera.
Just unmute your video, sir. Sir, please.
Okay. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay, sir. Okay, sir.
I am working as an assistant professor in political science department, Kalikot Autonomous College, Berhampur, Odisha. The title of my paper is Relevance of India's Space Program in South Asia. International politics is regarded as a struggle for power, where every nation state seeks to enhance its power, prestige, and position. More or less, this observation reflects true nature of international politics. However, in this globalized, interdependent world, struggle alone cannot solve national interest of a nation. Cooperation is also required to achieve the desired national interest. In this regard, application of space program can serve as an instrument of smart power capable of solving both development and defense needs of a nation. Time has gone for the application of hard power alone in international relations. Circumstances demand utilization of smart powers, that is, synthesis of hard and soft power for the realization of national interest. South Asia region is known for common culture and heritage. but it is one of the least integrated region of the world. It is the region of common problems like poverty, malnutrition, natural calamities, diseases, etc. All these problems need regional cooperation for their effective solutions, not armed conflict and cross-border terrorism. Given the success of South Asia satellite, solving soft power application of space technology, it is the time for India to extend hard power potential of its space program to the countries of South Asia to earn their willing cooperation in international relations. As we know, space age began in the middle of the 20th century when world's first artificial satellite Sputnik 1 was launched by the former Soviet Union in 1950. National reputation was the key driving factor behind the supporting space-related activities. Later on, a number of peaceful applications of space technology and space science were identified that encouraged a number of countries, including India, to quest for space programs. Ultimately, in 1969, India officially launched its space organization, namely Indian Space Research Organization. India is viewed as one of the significant spacefaring countries of the world in present. India's position has changed from a post-colonial state to a rising power in this 21st century. This revolution has not been realized in a short period of time, but it is the product of determination with which India has been working in the last 7 decades. Once upon a time, in India, bullock cart used as primary mode of transportation. Now the same country has turned into one of the pioneers of space technology in this world. Space technology is a double-edged sword. It can be used for defense purposes as well as for development purposes. The development dimensions of space programs are as follows. It can be used for natural resources management, for public health, for education, for medicine, for information technology, for crop planning, etc. Space technology that is being pursued by ISRO primarily constructs 2 types of satellites. One is communication satellites, and another type is remote sensing satellites. And through these satellites, the development dimension of space program can be harnessed in a significant way. Defense dimension of the space program. Satellites are used as absolute power multipliers. Detection and surveillance satellites are used to identify, track, and monitor opposing military forces. And in the present circumstances, without satellite-based information, no country can hope to get success against its opponent. As far as smart power application is concerned, smart power is a combination of soft power and hard power, and India's space program is capable enough to harness the constructive and destructive potential of the space program. Keeping this in view, it is important to analyze the space program scenario in South Asia. In South Asia, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, all these countries are located. All these countries came together and formed the SARC in 1985. It seems that SARC has failed to realize its basic aim and objective. Hostile bilateral relations between India and Pakistan could be cited as an important factor that led to the failure of SARC. In South Asia, apart from India, Pakistan has a well-organized space program.
Sorry for you have 1 minute more.
Okay, sir. Pakistan, at present, Pakistan still does not have the capacity to launch its satellite independently. It primarily depends on China for launching facilities. As far as other countries are concerned, they are also investing a lot to harness the space science and technology. Apart from India, external powers like China, Japan, USA, France are also playing crucial roles in South Asia in the matter of materialization of the benefits of space program. India's recent steps like the South Asia satellites, South Asia satellites under IRNS projects can be cited a good example of soft power dimension of space program. In conclusion, I can say that problems like natural hazards, mapping of natural resources, rise of sea level, etc., need cooperation, and in this regard, space technology and space science can be of great help. India's philosophy, that is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and the Gujarat Doctrine of 1996, should guide India in this venture to provide its space-based knowledge to its neighboring countries. In this way, India can earn their willing cooperation that will serve India's national interest in a significant way. With this, I conclude. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. Our next paper presenter is Abhishek Bhattacharya. Mr. Abhishek Bhattacharya, please unmute your mic.
Yes, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Hello.
Okay, please go on.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. And a very good evening to respected chairperson and ladies and gentlemen. My paper is titled The South Asian Connection, Relocating Some Landmarks in Indian Heritage and Culture. But here I am not going to read out my entire paper. What I propose to do instead is just to share some of my basic ideas with you. And my basic argument is that for years, for ages immemorial, India has been maintaining a very strong cultural connection with the South Asian region, with other South Asian countries. And as the documents of history has made it clear to us, this kind of a relation began even 2 centuries before the birth of Jesus Christ. Yes, I have very much in mind the historic reign of Emperor Mahamati Asoka, who was legendary for sending his Dhamma missions to South Asian countries like Nepal and then Sri Lanka. And particularly the Sri Lankan king Tissa was so much impressed by Ashoka's principles of a better life that he preferred calling himself in the name of Devanam Priyadarshi, which was an epithet already used by Ashoka. And we must remember that during the reign of Ashoka, the international trade relations between India and Sri Lanka were also strengthened through using the nautical route via the Tamralipta port in Bengal. Thereafter, after Ashoka, the second phase of development was marked by the flourish of the Nalanda Mahavihar, which flourished particularly during the reign of the Gupta kings and then Harshavardhana. And Nalanda, we must remember that from the 5th century CE to the 12th century CE, Nalanda remained, for these long 7 centuries, Nalanda remained one of the centers of catering classical Indian education through not only South Asia, but also Southeast Asia, as also Middle Asia in the larger perspective. Now, in the year 1200, Nalanda was destroyed because of 3 consecutive attacks made by the Sultan Bakhtiyar Khilji. And then what happened was that after the destruction of the great Nalanda for 7 long centuries, the links that existed between India and the South Asian regions previously, these links lay dormant for 7 centuries because India was undergoing much political turmoils within her own boundaries. And those links were once again, those dormant links, they were once again rejuvenated in the beginning of the 20th century by Ravindranath Tagore. Ravindranath Tagore was not only the first Nobel laureate of India, but he was the first Nobel laureate from Asia, we must remember here. And now, in Ravindranath Tagore, the entire South Asian region found an iconic figure because they were much impressed by Ravindranath's thought of universal humanism and also his thoughts in liberal nationalism. Here we must remember that 2 of Ravindranath's songs, the first one being Janagana Mana Adhinayaka and the second O Amar Sonar Bangla, these 2 songs were adopted as the national anthems for 2 independent countries, India and Bangladesh respectively. And to think about Sri Lanka, the national anthem of Sri Lanka, which is Sri Lanka Mata, which is actually penned down by Ananda Samarakun, it was much inspired by Ravindranath Tagore himself, because Samarakun was himself a student of Tagore's Vishwavarati, which in time became an international university. And Samarakun shares much of the Tagorean inspiration and motivation in composing the song Silanka Matha. So Ravindranath Tagore became easily an iconic figure of modern India to influence the entire South Asian region, not only South Asia, but also the Southeast Asian region. Now, after Ravindranath Tagore, there were two more challenges to be overcome by the South Asian countries, and those two challenges were posed by the process of decolonization. Because after decolonization, those countries were left with the questions of poverty and economic rejuvenation, and also there was the challenge to preserve a proper environmental balance for a comprehensive growth of those countries. And for that, those countries had to pave the way to welfare economics. And here we must remember that the first name that comes to the forefront is that of Professor Amartya Sen, the Nobel laureate economist who received the Nobel Prize in 1998. And then not only India, but we must here incorporate the contribution of Bangladesh also. And Muhammad Yunus, yes, I am speaking about Professor Muhammad Yunus, the recipient of Nobel Peace Prize of the year 2006. And he was awarded the prize jointly with the Grameen Bank of Bangladesh. These were the factors responsible for a rejuvenation of the economy of the entire South Asian region, which faced the challenges of alleviating poverty and also to keep up the balance of a proper environmental setup. Now, to think of modern education and of healthcare, India still is having a very great role to play on entire South Asian region, because even today, if we think of India's total foreign student population, 50% of them come from South Asian countries. And to think of healthcare, since the year 2018, almost 5 lakh people from the South Asian countries every year, they are coming to India to avail themselves of world-class treatment. So clearly it is understandable for us how India is having her influence on the South Asian region even today. And to think of gender sensitization issues, we must congratulate ourselves for our governmental projects like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, and also we have to think about our state government project Kanyasri Prakalpa, which is already the recipient of the prestigious United Nations Award for Public Service in the year 2017. So in conclusion...
you have 1 more minute.
Yes, I am summing up. And in conclusion, it is very easily understandable for us how India is having this great rapport, this great dialogue with the South Asian regions. And now it is the duty of our present generation to keep up the tempo of those connections for their sustenance in the years to come. So I think this e-conference of today, this present e-conference to be a very relevant one for the present generation, for the present days. And I would like to thank the organizers to have given me this opportunity to speak here, to share some of my ideas here. I would like to thank respected Chairperson Madam to be with us today. And this is all that I can share with you. So here I stop my presentation. Now it is over to you again. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. And our next paper presenter is Somnath Sarkar. Somnath Sarkar, are you here? Mr. Somnath Sarkar, are you here? I think Mr. Somnath Sarkar is not here right now with us. Then our next paper presenter is K. Usha Rani. K. Usha Rani. Are you here, madam? K. Usha Rani. I think K. Usha Rani is also absent right now. And our last participant is Shruti Esh. Shruti Esh.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, sir. Good evening, one and all. I'm Shrudesh from Department of Commerce.
Please unmute your camera, madam.
What, sir?
Please unmute your camera.
Okay, sir. Sir, I have some technical issues. So if I open the cam, the voice will be blurred.
Okay.
Okay,
Then
sir.
it's right. Go on.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. I'm Shrudesh from Department of Commerce, University of Kerala. I'm first year postgraduate student. The topic of my presentation is India's role in South Asian country. The enabling and constraining capabilities of India with regard to promoting regional cooperation in South Asia has been discussed even before the conceptual journey of the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, which is begun in 1983. India occupies a unique position in the South Asian region. By the virtue of its size, location, and economic potential, India assumes a natural leadership role in the region. But the overbearing presence of a neighbor with aspirations for global leadership has also been a source of apprehensions for the other South Asian countries. The empowering and compelling capabilities of India concerning advancing provisional collaboration in South Asia, which has been talked about even before the applied excursion of the South Asian Association. And the research methodology which I use for my study is based on secondary sources of data, which includes journals, articles, etc. And next we move on to the attributes of India's power in South Asia. The conservation in the portion 1 of the properties of India's capacity in the district are analyzed so far as the natural resources which has been controlled by India, local arrangements, etc. The auxiliary way to deal with power surrenders and advantage position to India in South Asia. The India imparts outskirts to all the South Asian nations, especially making it in the crucial physical connections in the district. About 72% of the land surface in South Asia is involved by India, and the 77% of the district's populace lives in India. India represents 75% of the local monetary yield, and the financial potential and the military abilities of India has been made by the nation an essential local power in South Asia. The basic characteristics of India's capacity has been amazing enough to bless the nation with included obligations. The South Asian countries, especially and worldwide controls all respect India to accept that the extra accountability for following territorial advancement and union. And next we move on to India as a regional hegemon, policies and perceptions. A simple variety in the degree and sort of intensity factors doesn't prompt authority. Authority is the special exercise of intensity in complete negligence to the interest of different sectors. India's strategies and local recognitions are analyzed in this segment to determine the legitimacy of describing India as a hegemon. Indian approaches with respect to the freedom development in Bangladesh in 1971, the ethnic emergency in Sri Lanka in 1987, and the endeavored military upset in Maldives in 1988 are referred to as the outlines of India's dominating expert in district. Indeed, even strategic explanations, as the Indian government's remark on the decaying conditions in Black Oset and additionally the guidelines for Pakistan government to practice restrictions which has been designated as obstruction by India. The India has safeguarded in Bangladesh straight in light of the fact that India mediated simply after her solicitation of the United Nations to act against Pakistan neglected by to yield the results. India is blamed for utilizing the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord of 1987 to affirm its military potential in the area. The understanding permitted India's conciliatory association in settling the encounter between the Tamil and Sanglais in Sri Lanka, and the choice of military help was relied up to the possibility proviso, which has been barely any normal would be used. The crumbling of the security circumstance in Sri Lanka and the flightless strategies of President constrained India to get militarily associated with the island governmental issues. The callings of alert and limitations which has been given by India have done little to address the local dread psychosis produced because of this scene. India's relation with her South Asian neighbors are described by various two-sided disputes. India favors a two-sided exchange for tending to these worries, while the neighbor requests a multilateral provisional methodology. India fears that the neighbors would process the facing her and request ridiculous concessions in a multi-horizontal milieu, while the neighbors speculate that India looks to exploit the feasible partable limit of each state in a respective change. The most evident model referred to as support of India's dominating desires in the Indra doctrine. The causes of the doctrine are followed to the Sri Lankan emergency of 1988 and also to set out that India would consider the nearness or impact of an outer force in the area as undesirable to the inclinations. And the next we move on to India as a regional leader, its policies and perceptions. The India's size and the level of improvement charges on its duty of being the common support during the time spent South Asian development. In managing provisional concerns, India professes to play out its position of authority by seeking after strategies to further the regulation of the states. In any case, the reluctant and mindful strategies sought after India negate the characteristics of dynamic administration. On the goals of the countering provisional misgivings, India has numerous events which has been deserted the administration mantle. Incidentally, such appropriations which has been full claims of absence of enthusiasm on India's part of provincial concerns. Subsequently, India's approaches of dodging...
You have 1 minute more.
Okay, sir. Okay. And the conclusion of my study is that India's territorial job doesn't completely relate to the conventional administration characteristics. India will in general help or embrace us opposed to start and encourage new provisional endeavors, which has been infrequently champions the gathering enthusiasm at the worldwide discussions. And also, as opposed to advancing bunch conduct and weakening gathering constants inside the SARC, India tends to disassociate the issues and overseas, which has been considered as a two-sided level. That's all, sir. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to present my paper here.
Thank you. Some paper presenters remained absent. Right now, we need to check whether they are here with us. Mokleshwar Rahman from Bangladesh. Are you here? Mokleshwar Rahman from Bangladesh. I think he is not here. And Monohar Kumar. Mr. Monohar Kumar. Are you here? Okay. Surojit Kole. Surojit Kole. Are you here? No. Dr. Naga Madhuriv. Dr. Naga Madhuriv. Are you here? Okay. So this session comes to an end. And right now, I'll request Professor Shahnaz Husni Jahan, Madam, to sum up the papers. Madam.
Hi. So I was, in fact, now I'm not in a mood to talk because, like so many wide varieties of topics, so many discussions, theories, and the way the presenters, I think today there was 15 presentations in this session, and 4 of them were absent as we hear, but 11 presentation took place. And I really appreciate all the presenters that you, within the time, like within 5 minutes, how you have presented your thought, I'm truly appreciating this. I appreciate it very much because to speak in a particularly in a webinar like this, and you are so much with this your thought and your understanding so much with this, so that you can put it together in a 5 minute talk. It is amazing, really amazing. I was just hearing and got lost, in fact, in your talk. So I don't know, it's a kind of these wide varieties of topics, how to sum up. Let me go one by one just so that I can talk a bit. But I think it is beyond my capacity because the speakers are so good, so that summing up them also needs more, I think, specialization. And let me try. So do not worry, do not feel bad if I cannot do it properly. Again, appreciation too much for the speakers. Now, Anita you will understand how wide the variety is now when I'm going to sum up. So Anita Liju, who talk about enlightenment, of the path of enlightenment, where the yoga got importance. And we know that Indian yoga practices and how old it is and how it has gone. And today in the morning when the discussion was going on with the Indian influence with South and Southeast Asia and East Asia even, and talking about Bodhidharma and Shaolin Temple, we heard the same things, and the importance of the yoga Anita brought very nicely within her talk. Now, Aruna Devi was talking about amazing talk again, but she was discussing on tradition and culture of Tamil Nadu. And as she is from Tamil Nadu, she was firsthand describing all the things like what are the small piece of customs and traditions, and how important these are for a society, for a culture, for identity of the Tamil Nadu people. And I was just thinking, because you know that I myself, as I said, I am taught in India, but at the same time, I was lucky to visit India widely, because from Rajasthan to Karnataka to Tamil Nadu and also east to west, I could visit many villages. And I was wondering while hearing Aruna Devi, and I was wondering, she was talking about hospitality. She was talking about each and every detail of the customs and tradition. And I was thinking, each and every villages of India, of Bangladesh, of Nepal, of Sri Lanka, Bhutan, the countries what I have visited, and I felt all the people are same. And I was thinking that what Aruna was talking, and it is just same to all the places. So you know how inseparable these tradition and cultures and influence to us. But Aruna, thank you very much. GM Hugar was talking about Karnataka, brought the Karnataka, again Indian influence in Southeast Asia, starting from Hindu culture to the trades to Vedic influence, and also talking about the herbal medicine, Southeast Asian Ramayana, how travel. Yes, we all know about this, how the Ramayana travel. The Ramayana story traveling from India to Southeast Asia, and each land it is traveling, the story is changing, and it's getting a new shape with their local influence. If you look at the in Myanmar, if you watch Japue or stick dance based on Ramayana, you find different taste. When you go to Thailand, you get a different taste. You go to shadow puppet in Indonesia, Bali, you have a different taste. So it's wonderful, that kind of mixing together culture and influence, how it is gets a different identity to this with all together. Yes, and then we come to Dibbo Jyoti Das and talking about pre-independent era colonization, Indianization. Then we have three papers on diaspora, Indian diaspora. Sneha Joshi talks about modern Indian diaspora. Sharmila Jajodia talking about Indian diaspora and its impact in literature and culture. Sabina Laki talking about challenges of multicultural Indian identity in literature. And all of them was looking at the Indian diaspora, diasporic people, and mostly they're giving importance to coming home and the memory back home. So it was always in the literature and how these are, reflecting on their life. So this is also very interesting arena. Then we had Abhishek Bhattacharya, who was talking about Abhishek was talking about South Asian heritage and Indian contribution, in fact, in a broader sense. So what I understood, and he was discussing and in fact sharing some of his thoughts. And also, covered a huge big area from all the South Asian countries and to the people, the novel laureate, Ravindranath, to Amartya Sen, to Dr. Yunus. Yeah, and how our South Asian people really, cover these challenges and fulfill these challenges and facing this. We need new new ideas and new understandings are coming up. Yeah, so this is the subjects, and all. Then we have Asmita. We have Asmita Sikdar from Deccan College. In fact, is from my institute, and I was a little bit in nostalgia when I'm looking at Asmita from the morning. I was watching her and seeing the kind of smile. Asmita brought the Indus River Valley culture and heritage, and focusing on the seals. She nicely brought out all this, how the Indian influence and with the animals and the ancient societies, how perceive the things and how influence the other neighboring cultures. So it was, very good. And then we have a Barun Kumar Behera talking about international politics and national interest kind of things, and also talks about the SARC with that. Suti from Kerala. Shruti from Kerala was talking about Indian influence on South Asian countries, also brought out lots of incidents of this right from the 1971 Liberation War movement to Sri Lanka in 1998 and the issues. And all the speakers of this session was so precise in their talk. So you cannot just say, and in fact, they sum up their talk within 5 minutes so nicely. And one has to repeat if I go with that flow. Now, I have another things like, that Indian culture and heritage, when we talk about Indian influence, I think somehow we miss, or we just broadly want to see each and every minor detail, and we think these are the influence. But if you look at the geography, environment, and natural resources of this South Asia, so most of the areas having the similar landscapes, similar man-land relationship, and the resources are confining their culture, the way they think, the way they live, all these things are together. So I told in my speak also that it is very difficult. It's very difficult to separate which is Indian influence and which is local influence, because these are grown together, developed together. So, and although we have if it is in Southeast Asia, when you talk about South Asia and Southeast Asia, yes, there are some, you can separate, you can get understanding of this is Southeast Asian local and this is South Asian inspiration or influence. But when you within South Asia, when you look at, then it's difficult because our the way of thinking is almost same. So when I'm from Bangladesh or from Nepal or from Sri Lanka, Bhutan, the local people and the Indian influence, if you want to separate, it is very difficult, and I think is not possible because of the kind of our environment, our geography, all this which determines our culture. So this is together. Another understanding I have today, like when the speakers were talking, right from the morning, even my talk or before that, right from the morning, we have an understanding. Sometimes we are saying, some of us saying, that our influence, the everywhere we see Indian influence, so we are trying to show each and every example. And some places when we are looking at the others, like the locals, to show that okay, you in a kind of a lesser developed area, or we say like that local communities were not really developed so much, so that when the Indian influence went and developed them. So these kind of understanding, I think we should not have. We should have respect, because as I have seen in Southeast Asia, if I want to say, Southeast Asia and South Asia was connected culturally, commercially, right from the remote past. And as far I have done research on in Southeast Asia, field level research in Southeast Asia, and I found in the village level, it's almost 3,000 years, 4,000 years relationship. We have commercial relationship with them, and we cultural relationship as well. So these two goes together. And then I saw there are, in fact, both the site was rich. Both the site was very rich, and it's not like somebody was weaker. So we always had some resource to offer. When the commercial activities, when we are exchanging, we all the places has something to offer, some unique things to offer. When we are within South Asia, or we are looking at the Indian Ocean trade networks, when today we had many aspects of the contact between South Asia, Southeast Asia, and also we are talking about the maritime. And we found, the Indian Ocean trade region, if you look at, and also if you look at the whole world trade, right from the, the Red Sea to China, or the Rome and China, or the Arab Persian countries with the China area, you will find each and all the looping network. If you look at each and every places, you will find unique something to offer. So yes, I think in South Asia, we are really very rich in heritage, and we all having common heritage, which are very much shared heritage, and we cannot in fact separate ourselves from there. Although we have somehow in the later times, in the independent, pre-independent era, or during the colonial time, or some political time when we had turmoil, that those times affected us. But if you go back to the root, then we see we all are same. I think, this is it. And I think I again appreciate all the speakers today who has really presented well in this session. The 15 out of 15 speakers, we had 11 speakers. They were very good. And just before that, Oliver and Sanjay was talking, wonderful speech. And before that, we had Suresh also, and and I should also thank today's organizer, all the colleges, Quality Assurance Cell, Saldiha College, Department of History, to organize this very important e-conference. And I think today, so many speakers, it seems that all the speakers were looking forward to have some sessions like this to present their paper. So that kind of desire we had, and Saldiha College fulfilled it. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Binoy, and thank you very much your team, and also Saldiha College principals and the whole team. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, madam, for your very kind words. We got illuminated by your words, and we learned a lot. We learned a lot.
Even we. The whole day was very good.
And I think the paper presenters also will also get inspired with your kind words. And overall, it was a very brilliant session, and we are extremely lucky to have the resource persons who delivered their speeches. And with this, the program comes to an end, and tomorrow we will meet at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, and tomorrow will be the second day of this international e-conference, and I want to thank everyone from the core of my heart. Thank you for being with us. Thank you. So we are meeting tomorrow once again at 10:30 a.m. in the morning. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So see you tomorrow. Thanks. It's a long day. Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Ashmita, keep in touch. Thanks.
Yes, of course, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.